Vis-à-vis jernbanestasjonen i Bergen ligger ærverdig Grand Hotel Terminus. Mitt navn, Frode Haring, og jeg er barmanager her ved Grand Whisky Bar. I denne programserien skal jeg invitere med meg kollegaer fra bransjen ut i verden for å lære om og møte menneskene bak produktene vi jobber med daglig. Noen kaller det Uskeba, noen kaller det Eau-de-Vie. Vi kaller dette for Livets Vann, rett og slett fordi det er det det er. Velkommen til Bergen. Grand Hotel Terminus, Grand Whisky Bar. Vi skal prate om whisky, vi skal smake whisky. Vi skal reise rundt i Europa og smake alt mulig som kalles for livets vann. Men i første episode nå så reiser vi til Skottland. Tar med meg min fantastiske kollega Anna. Skal vi reise ned og møte menneskene bak, menneskene foran og menneskene oppi glasset.
Og ned. Jeg klapper. Hvor kommer den syke lyden fra?
Han står nå på hjørnet.
Nesten tror jeg Skottland.
Ja, nesten. Fremdeles skal det være kult.
Jeg vet ikke hva han prøver å finne, men jeg ser ingen luksushorer her. Vi leter etter Scottish Whisky Society. Vi er her faktisk, utenfor det aller helligste.
Vi skal ha vårt eget lille vårslipp inne hos Annabelle Michael på The Whisky Society. Vet du hva? Vi stikker bare inn. Vi tok feil lokaler, så vi må bare finne en taxi, og så må vi stikke ned til Livets, til den andre Scottish Whisky Society-venue. Vi er jo i whiskyhimmelen. Jeg vet ikke, når det står bare Bibel. Det er ikke så mye mer dekkende enn det, eller? Her har de da tasting notes for alt som er i baren her. Det som er litt tøft her, det er at du kan ikke kjøpe whisky på destillerinavn. Du kan fortelle dem hva du liker. Liker du toffee? Liker du julekake? Kanel? Så finner de da whisky ut fra casks som de da har tappet selv, ut fra da sine egne smaksnotater.
And our whiskies are unique because they're all from a single cask from one distillery. And so far we've bottled from 128 different distilleries, including some Japanese distilleries, Welsh and Irish. So we're looking for the unique snapshot from a distillery. We then bottle our whiskies at full strength. We don't chill filter them, so we do very little to them, and we sell them to our members. And we've got 24,000 members worldwide.
When we want to taste whiskey, how do we do it?
A lot of what you're doing is engaging with the aromas that are coming out of the glass, and we use a little glass shaped like this so that it funnels the aromas up to the top of the glass. So the first thing is to breathe in those aromas, because with a whiskey that's complex like this, you're going to get a lot of clues in what you smell, and also your sense of smell is a really fine-tuned weapon, this thing here. I've poured us what we call a snifter.
Snifter.
Good Scottish word for a fairly small dram, because we're in the morning, and unfortunately I've got to drive this afternoon.
Still in the morning.
Still in the morning, but we Scots start early. So have a wee taste and see what you think. And you pick up a lot of sweetness at the front of your tongue. And then it's got a beautiful length, this.
Yes.
And what fascinates me about this whiskey, it's from Livets. it's got that beautiful fruitiness, but there's a plummy character and a dryness. This has been in a sherry barrel, which
You
is
shouldn't believe that actually when you see the color on it.
the
It's
colour
very-
and so much sweetness on the nose. You were saying vanilla.
You wonder why I don't act according to what your place says. So out of place, change my pace.
I get grapefruit.
I got actually. I get pears,
Pears.
peaches.
Yeah, very juicy, fruity, more sweetness coming out. And this is what's so beautiful, because we both agreed that we thought this should have come from a bourbon cask,
Yeah.
because it's got that creamy vanilla, coconut sweetness, but that's what's so beguiling about
Yeah,
some
you
of
know.
the whiskies that we have.
Plukker opp samme smaker. Vanilje, sjokolade. Etter litt vann så får du litt fersken. Grønne frukter, plommer. Helt fantastisk. It's excellent.
Yeah, it's beautiful whiskey. And again, with a whiskey like this, it's 21 years old.
Etter en liten time med Annabelle og smaking og prating og alt dette her, så drar vi fra Edinburgh mot Glasgow. Vi skal opp i høylandet til Glengoyne destilleri, og vi gleder oss så vanvittig mye.
Det er jo alt annet som skal barberes, det er jo ikke...
Det skal ikke være en bikinilinje når du har kilt. Skal det da? Jeg tror det. Ikke det bare busk det skal være.
No busk.
Men det er jo... Ja, ok.
Det er sånn som Kristian var. Før han går på byen, så er det å bare knippe litt rundt rogneposen.
Det er viktig, det.
To jegermeister og så en saks. Det er litt tøft.
Hello. He's having a bad hair day.
Der, på veggen, den hvite veggen. Så ser jeg inn her nå, så er det aller heldigste. Som det sydligste av alle Highland-destilleriene ligger Glengoyne fantastisk til. Det ligger faktisk så langt syd at hadde det blitt bygget 80 meter lenger ned i gaten, så hadde det vært Lowlands nordligste. Før Glengoyne fikk lisens til å destillere, så gikk det under navnet Burnfoot. De ulovlige pottstillene lå godt gjemt bare 60-70 meter fra der de destillerer i dag. Glengoyne som det er i dag ble etablert i 1833. Området er gjort kjent i bøker og på filmer, og Sir Walter Scott skrev i 1817 om banditten Rob Roy, og legenden sier at han gjemte seg i et hult tre som fremdeles står på Glengoynes eiendom. Bak destilleriet rager Dumgoyne Mountain. De lokale sier at det slett ikke er et fjell, men en vulkanpropp. Ja, vi får vel tro på det da. Så, for å lage Scotts singelmaltwhisky trenger vi følgende. Bygg, vann og gjær for å lage en type øl som først kalles for vort. Vorten blir deretter pumpet inn i store kopperpotstills og blir der destillert minimum 2 ganger. Etter dette så blir destillatet fylt på brukte eikefat og må lagres i minst 3 år.
Well, we only use one cereal for making whiskey always, and it's always barley. And first the barley must be malted before we can use it to make whiskey. And the malting process merely involves us soaking the barley with water and leaving it to start to germinate And then we dry the barley once there's a high sugar content inside each barley seed here.
Ok, Stuart. Dagens ord er barley. Typiske Highland-destillerier bruker kun varmluft for å tørke bygget sitt i malteprosessen. På Isle of Islay for eksempel bruker de jo peat. Dette er klumper av myrjord som blir brent over åpen flamme. Dette for å gjøre en kraftig røykpreg på whisky. I området vi besøker i dag ønsker de ikke røykpreg, men heller mer delikate, fruktige og friske aroma. Og nå, tilbake til Mr. Stuart.
The barley flavour isn't as strong an influence as perhaps the type of grapes you would use in wine would be. So barley is more a vehicle for making whisky, for getting the right sugar levels. If you change a strain of barley, it doesn't necessarily change the flavour of your whisky. Barley is important, but not as important in flavour terms as what we do with the barley.
I'll just leave it here. It's effectively just making a Scottish beer, and then later on we'll distill this beer into whisky. I'll open them up and we can see inside. What we're seeing here is the bubbles, is the actual fermentation process taking place. So we've added yeast to our sweet wort from next door. It's starting to convert the sugar that's in here into alcohol, and it's releasing carbon dioxide as the gas that comes off. So if you put your head in there slightly and I bring this up, it'll be quite unpleasant for you. And that's generally the reaction you get when you do that. So I won't do that again, okay?
Barneselskap, første klasse, rød brus, bobler i nesa.
Okay. If we do that once to Norwegians, and if Swedes come, we do it twice. And what we've got here is the start of effectively our beer making process. And you'll see the colour of this that comes out. This is still quite a violent reaction going on in here. The colour's pretty much right, the colour's not going to change much, but if you were to drink this now, you'd be drinking active yeast, and after you'd drunk it, you'd spend the rest of the day probably in a small room in the distillery by yourself, clutching some paper in one hand. This is the good stuff now. I recommend it.
Let's try it. Det smaker som varmt, flatt hveteøl, rett og slett.
So it's always fermentation or brewing first, and then we're into distillation after that. And now we've got a great beer to work with, and a lot of the flavours that we're going to find in our end whisky started off being created in here. The stills will intensify them, and the whisky casks will change them, but the birth of a lot of the flavours starts right here.
Okay, so now we get to the heart of the distillery. This is what it's all about. These are our copper swan neck distillation beasts. Wonderful things. What happens in here is we fill up the beer we made next door, we heat it up to 78 degrees centigrade. At that temperature, the wash starts to bubble and boil, and the alcohol vapours become separated off from the body of the wash, and they rise up the top of the still, and they go over the line arm at the top, and they're then cooled in the condenser at the back. However, this boiling ball here interrupts their process. So when the vapour starts to rise up, it starts to go in a circular motion inside here, and the spirit vapours start to collide together and they fall back down into the still. We call this reflux, and what that does is it makes sure that the spirit takes longer to escape from the still. The copper acts as a catalyst to bring together the sugars and the acids from our beer, and they form on the inside of the copper together, and they create ester flavours. And esters are things like intense sweet flavours, almost artificially sweet, like bubble gum you've just started chewing, or like nail varnish remover. And these wonderful and sweet, intense flavours are created through very slow distillation. Everything's distilled twice. The first time in here, and the second time is evenly divided
between these two small spirit stills, and they'll work side by side doing our second distillation. So first distillation, the big one, second distillation, these two small ones. The same process happens again. It's heated up, the alcohol starts to evaporate off, it rises up the still again, it's cooled in these condensation towers at the end, and then it runs round the pipes, round the wall, round the outside of the building, and down to this spirit safe here. And it's down here where we start to decide which part of this spirit we're going to keep and which part we're going to redistill again. And when the spirit comes through at first, it's very, very high in alcohol, but it's chemically the wrong type of alcohol. This is more like methanol. You could drink this if you wanted, but you would go blind. We're going to start collecting as early as we possibly can, because Duncan will know that all the fruit flavours and all the ester flavours come through at the very start, because they're the lightest spirit that comes first from the still. And now I think, Duncan, we're ready to go on spirit. Yeah, and as our esteemed guest, Rhoda, would you like to do the honours?
Of course, of course.
So we're just going to change that round into the centre bowl. There's two of them. And round she comes. We're trying to distill as slowly as possible to maximise the sweet, fruity flavours. So hence this very slow cut. And what you're seeing running down here will go along this pipe and down into the Glengoyne warehouse, where it'll be filled into a cask and left for 10, 17, 21 years.
Det er fantastisk, alt sammen. Det smaker jo kjøttdeig uten krydder. Men så får du fra Glengoyne 12, Castle så får du en del av pepper. Du får litt vanilje, litt sånn tropiske frukter, som faktisk går jækla bra til haggisen. Det som er clouet, at Robbie, som er distillery manager på Glengoyne, han helte akkurat en halv shot over hver vår haggis. Så vi bare følger etter. Men det funker fast.
Yes, folkens, endelig skal vi finne ut hvor alle smakene kommer fra. Hva er det egentlig som gjør maltewhisky så vanvittig spesielt?
Her har du butterscotch-lukten til de grader. Det er akkurat som de der toffee...
Oi! Ja, det er akkurat som sånn, ja, butterscotch.
Rett og slett. Det er rett og slett bare snop.
Oi.
Ja, det er det sykeste jeg lukter på lenge.
Satan.
Spøysøyden. Han lukter litt sevje, synes jeg.
Det er litt... Nei, det der er vomit, det er spy.
Ja, det er da.
Skikkelig galle. Det var i hvert fall den
første dårlige siden
Jeg vil ikke gi den til Frode nå. Han lukter på denne. Camera go. Blending room.
I think for the food sometimes it's not the So this is new make spirit. This is how it started out its life before.
You don't like it very much, do you?
You can handle it. This is 69.7%. So this is it from the stills.
And just to have a wee, it's probably not one for drinking, but just to smell. And
Smells just like sugar.
it smells like sugar, nice and sweet and lovely.
Problemet med dette er at det lukter rett og slett veldig søtt, og du har egentlig bare lyst å drikke opp hele greien. Kanskje det hadde endt litt dårlig, men jeg synes det lukter fantastisk.
Really okay.
Are you going to taste it, yeah?
Yeah, please taste it. Yeah. I'm going to cut mine down with water to around about 30% alcohol, and feel free to do the same if you want, and that will bring out the flavour a lot more.
Det er godt også.
Hva smaker den?
Det smaker vel egentlig ikke så mye. Det er hovedsakelig sprit. Kjenner det nå kommer en liten tår i øyet her, ja? Det var ganske sterkt på alkoholen.
It's just, it's lovely, but you should see some commonality, if you like, between this and this. So, is the taste of Glengoyne, which we have here, still in the 10-year-old after it's been 10 years in the cask? And hopefully, you should be able to trace some smells. Otherwise, you know, why bother spending so much time making this slowly distilled new make spirit? So, we're trying to improve these flavours, but not mask or change them beyond recognition. So, I think
It smells like broccoli.
I'm hoping you're talking about the new make spirit.
The new make, of course.
Very, very smooth, very sort of easy to drink. A good way to start the day, and
Yes.
apple flavours, vanilla coming through, a little bit of toffee coming through from the cask, I think.
Men han er jo helt fantastisk. Sånn som man sier, det er en meget fin måte å starte dagen på, eller recovery etter kvelden før.
You start to pick up a little bit more spiciness coming from the oak, a little bit more dryness, and just a bit more full-bodied. And I think the 17-year-old's genuinely one of the industry's great drams.
This is one of my favorites.
It's lovely.
It kind of tickles in your nose, but in a very good way. Nice.
Oh yeah.
You're not getting that one back.
No, I know. No worries. I think I have plenty.
Yeah, so.
Oh yeah.
So the balance is right. There's a lot of cask in there. That's where the spicy tones come from, and those lovely drier oak flavours are coming from the cask, obviously. But it's still very much Glengoyne. I think the balance is just great in this between the still and the cask. But obviously, I'm slightly biased.
Fra nesen så blir det, sånn som han har sagt, det er jo
Duncan.
Det er en del krydder.
Duncan, the very man's just walked in. Come on in, Duncan. No, you're on film at the moment, Duncan. Come in.
Come on, Duncan.
We're tasting Glengoyne 10, 12 and 10, 17, 21-year-old.
Have you tasted it?
Have.
We're on the 17-year-old. You have a wee drop of this.
Yeah, well, I taste it first. Sweet. Sorry about that.
My God.
I've got to always think I'm reading.
You're a good judge, Duncan. And so that's your 17-year-old that you made when you were...
That's my pet that I'm bringing home to Norway. Han är helt fantastisk.
How does it feel to have been there at the kind of birth of that, Duncan? Or is it worth waiting the 17 years for?
Yes, definitely. It's just cheers.
Cheers.
You've got a serious meeting to go to, don't you?
Aye. Sorry about that.
You stopped for a wee dram on the way. So, Anna, 21-year-old.
Yes.
Clearly there's a difference in colour, which is obviously explained by the fact that we only use first fill Oloroso sherry European oak casks in this bottling. Probably a whiskey for a different time of day maybe, but wonderful stuff.
More like an evening whiskey.
Maybe like a sitting in front of the fire after dinner whiskey.
Yeah.
Or trying with cheese whiskey or something similar. And from this, I get a lovely, first thing I get is these like raisins, just dried intense fruit flavours. and it comes from a lot from the sherry. And we haven't really planned this, but what we might find is the sherry in here. This is Oloroso sherry, and this will be, hopefully, in some way explained why some of our flavours are the way they are. If you try that Oloroso sherry with the Glengoyne whiskey, it's not just similar in colour.
Forskjell. Hvilke?
And just literally, there's a little bit of sherry inside each and every Glengoyne 21-year-old that's just seeped out from the cask. And you get this sort of flavour traced relatively easily between the two.
Definitely. Jeg får litt rett og slett rosiner, men sjokoladetrukne rosiner. Så det er litt mindre, men fremdeles, du kjenner virkelig hvor det kommer fra. It's lovely.
I'd say you've probably had worse assignments in your career.
Så folkens, etter at Arne og Stuart nå endelig er ferdig med å smake seg gjennom The Core Range fra Glengoyne, så er det min tur. Nå skal vi ned og få noen ordentlige fatprøver i det store varelageret disses.
It's like Reservoir Dogs, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not Mr. Pink.
No. Yeah, you are.
Mr. Pink. You're Mr. Brown.
Mr.
Now we need to get into one. Have we arranged a key?
No, that's your kind of thing, isn't it?
Dee, can we get into our site, please? Even the key and the lock's not good enough. You've got to get in with a bar. You know.
Yeah, this is where all the whiskey comes to sleep. And it rests inside these nice casks for 10, 17, 21 years or more. And at the end, when it comes out, it tastes lovely. It's yummy in your tummy. So, although you're looking a bit Swedish these days with your special hairdo.
Oh, come on.
You are. And he's got a little Swedish thing going on there. They've all got the spunk catchers there, don't they?
Oh yeah. Must be a certain age. Is it once you reach, what, 30?
Yeah.
You just think, I'm going to look like a cunt. And I'm going to start combing my hair like that. And I'm going to grow a wee spunk catcher, you know.
It's just because when you're sucking the cocks, it can dribble down your chin,
that's
can't
right.
it? And off the end. So
What we needed.
yeah.
if you get the wee bit in there, like that.
And it's perfected it. You're doing it really well. Yeah.
It does, yeah.
Og takk for det.
That is Robbie Hughes as I can. Take two.
Oh, that's what it's for then.
Yeah.
Right. This is a cask that we filled back in 1989. This is a sherry cask. So, and you can actually see by the colour of that, when that went in almost 22 years ago, that was as clear as water. And that colour just comes from the actual cask, the cask itself. And it's just got such a wonderful nose, and you're not getting any. So I don't know if this is a... See, he's even thrown his glass down in it.
In disgust.
In disgust.
Bastard.
But no, I will share it.
Go on and get it down. Oh, wow.
Isn't that lovely? Because you imagine there's 16,000 casks on site, you don't get the chance to look at every cask. So each one is really quite a nice wee surprise. You never know what you're going to get. The colour is exactly what you'd expect whiskey to look like. It's got more of the golden hue compared to the dark, very rich colours of a sherry cask. You've got more of a Glengoyne influence in this because this is 9 years younger.
It's got those estery flavours that we get during the distillation. It's also got a wee rubbery edge.
Mm-hmm. There's low levels of sulphur coming through, but not massive.
You ever had rubber in your mouth, Frodo? Is it quite similar to that?
I think you've done that more than me, actually.
You've got something in your nose too. When you're up here, you can actually see. He's actually got something going on his... He's got something in his
That's because he
nose.
wants to be Swedish, I told you.
That
Robbie.
isn't that...
He started off life as a Norwegian, now he's going all Swedish on us.
Did you used to be in a boy band?
He's got facial furniture.
Come on.
He could have been in a boy band.
Love this.
Every cask has a completely different influence from the other one. When we fill our Glengoyne New Make Spirit into any one of these casks, we don't have a piece of paper saying in 12 years' time that cask is going to deliver exactly this kind of whiskey, because they're all different. Where they're actually located in the warehouse, whether at the top of the store, closer towards the roof, the thickness of the wood has an effect on the evaporation. What went into the cask beforehand has an effect on the maturation. There's so many different influences on all these warehouses and all these different casks. Nobody really knows what eventually is going to happen. That's why it's quite nice looking at this cask for the very first time, because we've never been. We've been to that one a few times, but we've never been to this cask. And that's doing really well. That is doing a really good job. Thank goodness for that.
Would you like to try one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it works standard.
Oh man, that was good. It was like peaches.
Peaches, yeah.
I love peaches.
Pretty good, isn't it?
It's pretty good.
Oh.
That's great.
Again, yeah, give me that.
Did you try that one?
Forgot the nut.
Fett?
Är det en god grej det här? Do you mind if I go and grab the static cam and do some
I
shots
thought
of
I would
your
say something completely different.
very sexy barrels?
Do you mind if I get naked and run around the casks?
Yeah.
If you want.
Look, no diamond stud in my nose, because I'm Scottish. We don't do that sort of thing here. Yeah, Robbie, it's probably worth showing them something a bit newer. So this is 1 year old. It's not only 1 year old, it's a port cask. And that went really well.
Yeah. I'm mumbling away to myself.
What a shit cask.
See, did you do this?
No, I didn't do that.
You didn't do that, did
No,
you?
what a cock.
You do not screw anything, do you? No. Yeah.
I've never screwed in.
You've never screwed anything properly in your life.
Do I pull it out then?
Not yet. You've got to leave it in longer before you pull it out. Honestly, Stuart.
What am I like?
Right.
I'll get you to teach me, Robbie.
You always count to 10 and then you pull it out.
When did we have it to go up to now, was it?
Well, yeah, because 5's never long enough. Right.
Right, go.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, 1 year old port cask. This is young and immature.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's got a little bit of colour there from the port already.
It's got the colour you'd expect.
Yeah. Colour's fine.
I remember my granny had verrucas, and her feet used to smell like this.
Did they?
She had really bad smelly feet.
After the dog pissed on her?
After the dog pissed on her feet.
Yeah.
And her feet, isn't that cheese, rotten cheese?
Rotten cheese.
Underpants.
Dog piss and underpants.
All together.
Yeah. Good Lord.
Så etter en slik tur får man ny motivasjon, og en har egentlig bare lyst til å komme seg hjem og bruke all ny lærdom i jobben. Vi vet nå hvor smakene kommer fra, hvordan maltwhisky lages, og viktigst av alt, hvem som lager det. I neste episode skal vi til en annen plass i Europa. Frankrike for oss nordmenn synonymt med god vin, fantastisk mat og selvsagt konjakk. Så folkens, håper dere vil være med oss ut på tur igjen, om ikke alt for lenge, når vi fortsetter reisen rundt i verden på søken etter livets vann.
Det går bra.
Jeg liker ikke whisky, jeg har sagt det.